Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Is my makeup smudged, Connor? Well, I mean, I feel like so much has already been said, but I'm going to try and stick to the brief because I have quite a bit to say, and I think everyone really wants to know the specifics of what is Legace, why are we all here, why is this a multi-stakeholder launch, why should it matter to all of us in the room? So first of all, a few formalities, if I may, and I know they have already been done, but I just want to underscore them in book endings function and really express heartfelt gratitude, genuine gratitude. To CAS, our event sponsors, for sponsoring the event, but also the development of our very first project handbooks, which are well underway and which we believe are quite something insofar as they synergize various areas of law, disciplines, questions, and so on, in encouraging our participants to think deeply, critically, but also go back to basics. Read for meaning, listen to hear, work out what is relevant from what is irrelevant. So thank you, CAS, for sponsoring. We so appreciate it. Weber Wenzel, this exquisite host institution, but not only that, my alma mater firm. This was where I practiced from 2008 to around the beginning of 2012 when I did my master's. And so wonderful that so many of the staff that I formed connections with are still here today and have gone out of their way, and I think you can all agree, to make this a truly sophisticated, special event. So thank you so much. And I would also just like to mention, in particular, the fact that they have just won the 2024 Law Firm of the Year at the Chambers Africa Awards for South Africa's Law Firm of the Year. So a big shout out to Weber Wenzel. And I'm going to get to Sally later. Our keynote speaker, dear, humble, brilliant jurist, Justice Stephen Majid, who I connected with proper Ubuntu style over a glass of vino at an academic conference, human to human. It is such an honor to have you here speaking those profound words tonight and to be on this advisory board, for consulting with your colleagues and ensuring its appropriateness, but just also for being such a support for me as I take this leap in many respects, with colleagues, with support, institutional and otherwise, but still a leap nonetheless. And it is very, very special to me. So thank you so, so much. And I think we can all give him a round of applause. I would also like to thank our chairs, both of whom, as you know, I lectured, Raphael McIntosh, Toyita Tobela, who have, I think you'll agree, organized, streamlined, systematized tonight's function with elegance and efficiency and gravitas. Thank you both so, so much. Thank you. And Rafe also, sure, he and I are developing these project handbooks. Let me tell you, this is no mean feat, okay? You've got to know every area of law, every nuance, every subtlety, and we are breaking it down, okay? So thank you in advance, my co-captain. Julian Rademeyer, he has flown down especially from Johannesburg. He is the deputy, well, you've heard his impressive CV, but in short, he is also here in part on behalf of Mark Shaw, who was my erstwhile colleague at UCT. He held the NRF chair for criminology. It's where we met. So we spoke about problems, and the fact that we don't like problems, we like solutions. And Julian, I thank you, I thank the GI for embracing us, the Legace initiative, as part of your initiative, which is doing incredible work. I think some people don't even know. It is more significant in terms of what it's doing around the world, even in the likes of the UN. So let's just not for a moment think of the negative, but let's think of the positive that it is doing. Those people that are putting themselves on the line to expose malfeasance, corruption, and to nuke those problems. Now we come in and nuke them preemptively and positively. That's the plan. That's the marriage. So thank you, Julian. I want to thank all of our advisory board members, some of whom I've come upon by pure chance at academic conferences. And Madeleine, for example, approached me when I last spoke at the Stellenbosch conference and said, "You're about solutions. I like that. And equally, as it happens, we share birthdays around the same time, and we share Dutch heritage. So shout out to my mom over there. Because my mom always says, in the Netherlands, if there is for any problem, there is a solution. She always reminds me, they came up with Wi-Fi, Lauren. They developed the CV, Lauren. Never mind, that's all dead. But the point is, we find new ways of doing and being and fixing. We don't say no. Hey, Connor, what is mommy's middle name? Solution. Lauren Connor. Okay, we'll go with that. So, I want to thank all of you, our advisory board members, and you'll see the advisory board, I'm so honored. I mean, Jess Blumenthal's here, director at ENS, Madeleine, Justice Stephen Majid, Richard Calland, Karim Singh, the executive director of Corruption Watch. How honored am I that these people have agreed to come on board as representative of all of you, our multi-stakeholders, as we become the change that South Africa and the world needs. Thank you so much. Now, last but not least, I mean, my dearest judge laid the foundations here, so I'm just going to build on those. But I have to do a brief shout out to my own immediate support system, my family, because let me tell you, I know, dear judge, it was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but carrying, birthing, raising 4 children, doing a PhD, smashing, teaching con law, admin justice, open governance, and building the foundations for Lagasa has been no mean feat. It has required almost a Herculean effort, resilience, grit, and determination. And my children, and my husband, and my mom, and Gordon, her partner, and my Father in heaven have supported me every step of the way. Thank you so much. I mean, literally, like my eldest child, Olivia, you would have met, she says to me, Mommy, this has got to be done. I mean, we can't call it this because it's patriarchal. But the world needs the finishing school of finishing schools. We need the polishing glass of glasses. We need to get people together in a room and upskill and capacitate and fix. And to have their buy-in when I'm not doing the homework that night, or I'm not cooking the meal that night, or I'm working till 2 a.m. Sorry, Richard, for the voice notes at 2 a.m. That means so much to me, because I'm not just doing it, I'm doing it for all of us. I'm doing it for South Africa. We are doing it to be the change that the world needs. And we can, and we shall. So that's the mission. I mean, you've heard a lot about the problem statement. You know, on the program, it says, you know, the why. What is our mission? What are the stakeholders in the project implementation plans? I mean, I've got to now unpack this for you. And I like to stick to the brief, so to speak, as lawyers say. So why Lagasa, right? Why this need now for what is, to my mind, in essence, a specialist training academy of excellence to bridge all manner of teaching, learning, and professional development offerings? Be they public, private, NGO, why? What do we respond to? Well, Julian, all of our speakers, the Justice, Madeleine, you've all alluded to the fact, Ukanyo, your speech, it's touching. We are living in fluid, fast-changing times, and they are presenting major challenges. But as I always say, for every challenge, there is a flip side opportunity. So, macro level, we know the problems, we've heard about it. Organized criminality, fueled by the scourge of corruption. But increasingly what I've recognized is these micro dilemmas. We hear less about them. Declining standards of professionalism, determination, grit, excellence, resilience. This is so needed, right? Because without this, those evil maladies don't sneak in, right? If we have a well-capacitated, motivated, brilliant public and private sector, there's less of an inclination to take that bribe, to take the low road, to take a shortcut. I was going to quote, and I maybe still, I mean, I know everyone's very keen to have the hashtag post-Sona party, but Justice Majid, if I may quote your words on the macro problem from your recent Concord case of Amabongane, this is the president. Corruption and related corrupt activities undermine rights, the credibility of governments, the institutions and values of democracy, and the ethical values and morality that jeopardize the rule of law. They endanger stability and security. They jeopardize sustainable development, and they provide a breeding ground for organized crime. Corruption is a transnational phenomenon. It affects all societies, all economies, and it is destructive within both the public and the private spheres. And you said, regional and international cooperation is essential to prevent and control corruption and related crimes. Now to this, we at Legace add, if we may, dear Judge, meaningful multi-sectoral cooperation within nation states, within sectors, and across them. So this is, and I'm going to get to the more concrete of it, the how. That's the macro problem. The micro problems, Madeleine alluded to them very well. We are living in a world of greater polarization, greater divides, instant gratification, right? I mean, my kids got me on TikTok. Who would have thought? #ConLaw. My oldest came up with that name. We are living in a world with a quick fix, but not the right fix very often, right? We are living in a post-COVID technology-centric world. That's a world where there is diminishing interpersonal skills, diminishing human connectivity, diminishing basic critical thinking skills. And what does all of this lead to? Diminishing excellence, professionalism, even motivation, even creativity, even resilience. And that is not good. So, for every problem, there must be a solution. Now, I sort of think when I think about this, we're living in a world where there's this inclination to increase letters behind names, right? But all too often in a manner that disregards the learning process that culminates in the award of these letters, these qualifications. And rather devastatingly, quite often they aren't even put to practical good use in the real world. And why is this? In part, because the learning process itself is under strain. Various sectors, various reasons, I don't have time to go into all of those, and I don't want to bore you. But there is a wonderful student and former student cohort here tonight. And I think those of you that are here will agree in the importance of the magic of that in-person classroom experience, where participants can engage meaningfully in the learning experience. We are living in a world where lectures can just be recorded. Private university offerings are frequently just online. Magic notes are handed down, passed down year by year, without the magic, right? Because what is the pedagogical magic? The pedagogical magic happens with you all, as it did, in a seminar-style environment, where we can discuss the complexities and the nuances of the law and interdisciplinary issues. So I thought this is dissolving. It's become so much about the end and less about the means to the end. How do I create something where the means itself is the end, where the learning process is the goal, right? That we take and we find value in getting to grips with the materials, reading those cases, discussing them, discussing the various issues they raise, thinking out the box. That's the magic that needs to come back. So, and it's not even just within disciplines like the law, it's across the board. So if you think, for example, law, commerce, politics, administrative governance, these are still all typically taught in a siloed way. We have separate departments, we have institutional divisions. And generally, the default is not to coordinate, right? We don't ensure a coherent whole. And that's just the way of doing, right? So we teach property law, constitutional law, administrative law, but all of you here today know that these areas of law all intersect. Should I give the mic to a former student? You think, for example, of an unlawful tender relating to a property development. Immediately, we want our future lawyers, leaders of the future, to think this brings into question issues about property law, administrative law. Is the contract void? Can you claim on the contract? No. If no, why? You have to think across these disciplines. You can't think in silos. The world and we as people do not operate in silos. So the public-private divide has become a misnomer. My friend, procurement, construction and development. So we know that we have to stop perpetuating the siloed way. It is the default way. And if that is a key point that I wish to make today, is that that is what Legace promises to do. To shatter those silos and to synergize and synthesize. Now, I say to my 4 children very often, in fact, I said this when I was homeschooling them back in the day. I just had Connor, it was lockdown 5, you couldn't get a baby grow, it wasn't an essential good. I'm not going to go to the rationality thereof. But that notwithstanding, I threw out half the school pedagogy. And I said, if you can read, write, comprehend, and problem solve, you can essentially do anything. And you can do it well. Those are the basics, right? If you can identify a problem and solve it, you can fix it. And I think the problem today is that we focus too much on the labels. Is this commercial? Is this legal? Is this contract? Is this dealing? And as a result, there is less and less focus on the basic and critical skills development that is needed to deal with solutions elegantly and expeditiously as they arise. Now, I want to quote from a recent judgment. This, to be clear, is not a Justice Mchi judgment. It was one handed down very recently by the High Court in KZN, in Mavundla. I don't know if anyone here has read it, but I couldn't resist but give this quote. Because Applicants Counsel, and I would like to be very clear here, it was certainly not Weber Wenzel, nor any of the law firms represented here tonight, but Applicants Counsel had to be wrapped over the knuckles by the judge. Why, you asked? Because of their complacent, misplaced reliance on case law that did not in fact exist, which was generated thanks to ChatGPT, which, by the way, my 4 children are not allowed to use for homework. So, and I quote, at paragraph 90, says the judge, Besaidenout, in this age of instant gratification, this incident serves as a timely reminder to at least the lawyers involved in this matter that when it comes to legal research, the efficiency of modern technology still needs to be infused with a good dose of old-fashioned independent reading. Courts expect lawyers to bring a legally independent and questioning mind to bear on especially novel legal matters, and certainly not merely to repeat in parrot fashion the unverified research of a chatbot. Well said, Judge, I say. Yes. We would do a shout out for that. So, quite so. And I would say quite so for all manner of vocational work, all manner of vocational thinking. A good dose of sound, independent application of the mind. And this is the dire need to which Legace in the main responds at the micro level. So, we've spoken about the macro problems. We want to avoid duplication. We want to synergize. We want to build bridges. What does this all mean? Why are you all here? You are here because presumably you care. And we all care, and we all ought to care, right? I want to work out, and what we want to work out is how we can supplement, support, synergize with the important and hard work that all of you, lawyers, civil servants, media, NGOs, politicians, various stakeholders within the bar, university. I've got colleagues from UCT here. It's wonderful. I've got former students here. All of you, our wide stakeholder audience. How can we synergize with your existing offerings to provide the necessary solutions, to fill the gaps, to bridge divides, reboot the basics, and build brilliance? I know some people don't like that tagline, but I like that tagline, so I'm going to stick with that tagline. So, I want to just briefly refer to Pius Lange, our erstwhile Chief Justice. Many of you may have read his very famous piece on transformative constitutionalism. And in this extracurricular writing, he talks about transformative constitutionalism as requiring both a remembering and a forgetting. It's a very powerful statement, actually. And for me, this is what Legace is going to be about. This is what it is about. It's about remembering the good of yesteryear, before we had the chatbots and the chat GPTs, and we had to read and think and apply our mind, right? But mixed equally with the benefits offered by technological advances and other advances of today. It's about synergizing those two. And in his piece, he says the following: there is solace in the idea that perhaps obstacles can be viewed as enabling conditions for transformation. For as long as obstacles exist, there will be a drive to overcome them. There will be a tension, and that tension keeps alive the idea that things can be different. When all the challenges are gone, that is when the real danger arises. That is when we slip into, and I love this line, a useless self-congratulatory complacency, a misplaced euphoria that we are now where we are meant to be. That is when we stop dreaming, we stop imagining, and we stop planning that things could be better. And that we need to avoid. That self-congratulatory complacency. So you will have all heard, culture of justification, the metaphor of the bridge, right? Where does this come from? My students in the house. Where was it planted?
Morene.
Yeah, but where did Mirena get it? Come on, yes? The the post-amble to the? Thank you. The post-amble to the interim constitution referred to the interim constitution as a bridge, transitioning our society from where it once was terrible, to which we never wish to return, to a better world, right? And we love this metaphor of the bridge at Lagasa, but we have a qualifier for it, right? Because when you think of a bridge, you think you go from A to B. But it's not enough that it's a bridge. It's an unending bridge. We kind of got to hover. Sorry. I'm a destinations kind of girl, but stick with me here. Because we want to avoid that complacency. So, we're going to be a never-ending bridge. The means matter, not just the ends. And in fact, in this piece on transformative constitutionalism, I love it. Pius Lange refers to the Nissan advert from back in the day, which says, you know, life's a journey, not just a destination. Now we would throw in a hashtag, enjoy the ride. You know, yes, Olivia Rose, enjoy the ride. We've forgotten how to enjoy the ride. Okay, people have forgotten the magic that happens in a classroom space, in an interdisciplinary space, with various stakeholders, from the state, from civil society, from the private sector. There are so many silos that need to be shattered. There are so many orthodoxies that have become outdated. And we are going to change this. So, how? Firstly, the name, Lagasa. Now, I know it sounds a little bit exotic, but it was no random choice. My kids tell me it's not quite Mufasa, but it's Lagasa. Okay, so where does Lagasa come from? The Law and Governance Academy of Southern Africa. Why Southern Africa? Because it is being piloted here. Here where our constitution serves as a blueprint that's celebrated the world over. And here at top-tier international prize-winning law firm and top-tier firms. But, as it's linked with the GI may explain, Lagasa is but one initiative of a global initiative. And it's going to address a myriad of problems. But it's going to do so, as Richard Calland rightly said, in a way that does not undermine, compete, or duplicate, but rather supplements, complements, synergizes. That's the takeaway. Why academy and not institute? When you think of institute, research. I love research. I've been doing teaching and research for 12 years. I'm very proud of my research. But I can tell you now, most of my most poignant research actually stemmed from legal advisory work, because what matters is impact, right? It's got to matter in the real world. It's got to feed into law reform. It's got to make society better. But research alone is not enough. We need to couple it with powerful and inspiring educational offerings, and we need to couple it with a practical slant and also synergize with advisory interventions. We want to do this. Reps from the Helen Suzman Foundation, from CAS, from CASAC, can we feed into your work? As Callan said, we're not all silos. Let's work together and fix these things. So, I need to be honest. I think that all of this cannot realistically be achieved within the confines of, say, a 4-year LLB degree, right? How do you teach across silos? How do you teach mooting, contractual drafting, opinion drafting? I'm using the law because it's obviously my natural wheelhouse, but as I said, read, write, comprehend. So, I mean, Chucky Nodia's in the house tonight, my colleague from Teachers who taught me advanced contract law many moons ago. And, you know, there's just only so much one can achieve within a 4-year LLB degree. And many of our LLB students these days don't do an undergraduate. So they land in the real world of legal practice at just 21, right? Unexposed to the hard graft of what goes into timekeeping, billable hours, file management, interpersonal relations, thinking across disciplines, spotting the issue, knowing when to ask questions, knowing when to defer, knowing when to be bold, knowing when to not. So, those things cannot easily be taught. And that is not to discount the value of our existing tertiary educational offerings, our existing professional development offerings. It's to simply say, how can we supplement or complement them to make your lives easier, to make everyone's lives better? So it's a win-win for us all. That for me is a big point, because I think a lot of people are quick to see things as being in polarization, in opposition. And we need bridge building. We need synergies. So that's why we talk about LGASA. Why law and governance? Well, we've made this quite plain. I mean, I hope I've made it clear that it's not only going to be about law and governance, but law and governance must necessarily be the starting point. What is the supreme law in our country? The Constitution. That means that all law and conduct must be consistent with it. If it is not, it can be declared invalid, as it must, and be struck down. So we start there, but make no mistake, that is not where we will end, right? That is not a closed list of our project module offerings. So let me take you to the how, in conclusion, in relation to the who. As I've said, LGASA is about supplementing and complementing the likes of legal, commercial, NGO, and public sector educational and professional development programs, as well as existing advisory and public interest work. We want to bridge divides. We want to bridge divides between tertiary education and real-world practice. We want to bridge gaps that ensue from siloed teaching within disciplines. And we even want to bridge divides between disciplines and sectors themselves, right? So, how can we collaborate for you to make life better for you and for us all? Private sector, law firms. We're going to be rolling out our first LGASA project at a benchmark-setting Golden Circle firm in South Africa. Why? As I said, aside from feeling like a kind of an implant in my mental hard drive, the law is just there. All law and conduct has to be, we all almost, I mean, my kids all have copies of the Constitution, right? We all need to understand what we can and cannot do. That's what a rule of law state requires. And these project handbooks are going to be, as I've said, not just about the 101s, not just about reading for meaning, critical thinking, listening to hear, spotting the issues, solving the problems, but they're going to make our participants think across legal disciplines in a way that gets back to basics, but equally in a way that boosts their brilliance. So they can hit the ground running, they can rotate through departments with confidence, with ease, with mental agility. That is what is required, and with grit and determination. Other corporates. Tonight we have people here from the banking and investment sectors. We have people here from the medical and architectural sectors. I hasten to add the first female heart transplant surgeon in the country. One of South Africa's, if not the top architect in the country. These people are among you. You are these people, right? So the point is, this is not just for lawyers, because it's all of our graduates. It's all of these corporations. How can we come in and assist? When you have a lateral hire, what do you require in terms of basic thinking, critical skills? Let us serve you so that we can all serve the public interest and build brilliance. The public, that's the private sector. A key takeaway, obviously, and I suppose a selling point, is that we want to reduce wastage. We want to reduce wasted, precious clients' billable hours. How can we foster, upskill, and polish the future lawyers? Hello, my boy, you okay?
Yes.
Must I wind up? In a way that gives you a competitive advantage. That's the plan, right? So that it's leaner, meaner, cleaner, fighting machine for good, for all. And then, I think someone in the audience used the word readily microwavable candidate. I won't quote the person, but it's a great line. Doesn't matter what institution you land in, doesn't matter what department you land in, you can bring an independent, critical, and insightful mind to bear, and you are not discouraged by the issues raised or presented. Then, the public sector. The public sector is in tremendous attendance here tonight. I met a couple of people here from the public. When I say that people sack public sector, what do we mean? People don't even know. But it's judges, it's civil servants, it's high-ranking state officials, it's people from diplomatic envoys that are here representing their nations. It is people that serve philanthropic mandates, like Cass. Okay, thank you. And again, we would like to synergize with your professional training offerings and play a meaningful role in advancing our capable, hopefully more capable, developmental and resilient state. But again, aligned with your specific service development goals. So, the students here will know, admin law is everywhere. Administrative law is everywhere, right? You apply for a license. You want to build a building. You've got to get an authorization, right? Environmental approvals, dog licenses, all of these things. It's everywhere. And yet, whether you are in the SAPS or in the National Prosecuting Authority, or you are even a top-ranking commercial lawyer, my husband and I still have debates. What is administrative law and what does it say here? This is just one example. The point is the learning process must stay alive. We must keep it alive, and it's relevant to everyone. So we want to clarify, simplify the theoretical and practical workings and interplay with these disciplines, irrespective of your discipline, right? Are you in housing, construction, procurement? Doesn't matter. Call us. I know, the housing legislation, Mike Evans is here. I'll never forget doing an opinion for him. My word. There was an act, and then another act, and then this, and it's layered, and it's multifaceted, and it's complex. But we can simplify, and we can make it accessible. No one teaches you that at a law school. And then you get released to the unsuspecting public within a law firm. You've got to advise. And now you've got to start from scratch and read a suite of legislation. Well, we will boom, boom, shake the room and up for you so that it's done. Okay, there's cost effectiveness right there. And I'm just going to put it on the record. We can start pro bono for the public sector, and we can come on in and do what you need and deliver. Then, NGO, media representatives, etc. We want to foster synergistic interactions. Monitoring work, advisory work. How can we support you? Our team consists advocate, attorney, scholar, educationalist. What can we do? How can we bring that expertise to your particular NPO offering, to your philanthropic offering, and how can we make a difference? You tell us, and we'll do it. And last but not least, and this is timely as my eldest child walks up, the youth, the future, right? And this, Richard Callan spoke about this because I lectured law for 12 years at UCT, and my students have always had a very, very special place in my heart. I have cared deeply about the Teaching and Learning Project. And I want to pour that passion now into Lagasa. I want to do it in my distinctive way, and I want to upskill and empower you. So you tell us what you need, be it at intermediate year level, representatives from the Black Law Students Council, the Law Students Council, the Moot Society, the Women's Law Society. What can we do for you? Offer specialized extra moots. Let's do it. Let's train you up to be the next best badass advocates. Okay, let's do it. And you are our future. Now, I want to conclude, when I left UCT, it was hard. It was sad for me. It was the end of a 12-year era. I did about 4 and a bit years here, did my master's, wrapped up at UCT. It was bittersweet. But I had a poignant moment as I looked at my office door. Sorry, I actually didn't want to get emotional, but this is just like quite a big moment. My office door has only my name, Lauren Kahn. There are no letters before it. There are no letters after it. It's just Lauren Kahn. And a picture of Nelson Mandela with his famous quote that says, "Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world." And that is what I stand by. That is what I believe in. Thank you so much. And now you must all drink and eat and be merry. Thank you so much. I just want to cry.
Yeah, you know.
I just want to cry.
Thank you, everyone.